I started in junior high, and I was always like the smallest kid. Initially, I went out for basketball, then I went out for football, both size kind of related sports. And then it was in the wintertime, we had a PE class, and it was freezing cold outside, so you could either play basketball outside or you could do wrestling for PE inside where it was nice and warm. Well, needless to say, most of the people chose wrestling, and I did the same. And my coach was Monty Muller, and he was pretty smart about the whole thing. He taught us wrestling moves, and he used the various PE classes as kind of a tournament. And so at some point I remember him weighing us in. I had no idea why. We weighed in. If you beat everybody in your PE class, then you'd meet and you'd wrestle on some wall mats in the corner during lunchtime. And it was a tournament. And when you made it to the finals, they actually had an assembly, and they had a full-size mat out, and they brought kids in, and we wrestled. And I made it to the finals, never having wrestled. And I ended up wrestling my teammate that had been wrestling for 3 years. And I went out there, and he just pinned me. That was it. He was just pinned me. And I remember thinking, man, I was upset because he got a medal and I didn't get anything. And when the wrestling team started up, practice, I didn't go out for the team. I had no interest. I was still upset about that medal, And my friend Steve Roman, who was my teammate, hit me up one day. He said, hey, wrestling started, you didn't go out? And I said, nah, I don't want to do that sport. He goes, no, you got to go out. And I said, and he just drugged me and got me to go. And that was the start of it, And from there it took off. What person had the greatest impact? Well, that is a tricky question. I saw that question, and I'll be honest with you. There was such a multitude of people that had an impact in my career, a great impact in my career. Monty Muller getting me started. I went to 3 high schools. So I had 3 different high school coaches, and I had good coaches, and they all contributed to my success and my development as a wrestler. I went to college. And in college, I had TJ Kerr was my coach, and he gave you that toughness. Anyone that knows TJ Kerr knows the grind, knows the toughness, and he gave me that. And but within that program, Dan Questis just contributed so much to me technically. Jesse Reyes, so much technically. Tim Vanny, Lou Montano. I have so many. Honestly, I can't answer that question on a single person. It's just not possible. All of them contributed. Yeah, I did. I think it was after my freshman year, and I hadn't wrestled for long. My freshman year was my 3rd year of wrestling. I didn't have a club or anything, and so I only wrestled just during the seasons. And I did good. I did real well my freshman year, and I read a book, and it was called Two Men Named Dan. It was about Dan Gable and Dan Hodge. Yeah, and I read that book, and what really stood out to me, I didn't know Dan Gable from a hole in the wall. I just got the book because I liked wrestling, and I wanted to read it. And I read the book, and Dan Gable talked about his passion for the sport and how he pushed himself, and how, if he pushed himself to the point of exhaustion, and he knew that if he could exhaust himself, that nobody else could keep up with that. And so when he competed, he brought that, using conditioning as a weapon, and just push himself until he couldn't, he wasn't even worried about the other guy. He just pushed himself till he was exhausted, and he just knew the other guy couldn't keep up. And that had a huge impact on me. And I went from a very good freshman to applying that. My technique and skill set wasn't that great, but I was tough and I was in shape. And my sophomore year, I went 47-3 and took 4th in state and won CCS. And I attribute that, I think that helped me make up the ground of the technical ground, because I wasn't the best technical wrestler, but I had that, you know what I mean? And I did it, and I applied it. And so that, for me, that was my hero. Honestly, when I think about wrestling and the Hall of Fame and what wrestling means to me, I enjoyed my career. I love wrestling. I really enjoy wrestling. But the things that mean the most to me, honestly, are, the things within coaching. And my number one is the 1996 team at Cal State Bakersfield. I was just telling this story to a friend. That team was special. It was, the coaches were TJ Kerr, Daryl Pope, and myself. And we had a 4-year run leading up to that team. And that year, we had a great team with that 96 team. And midway through the season, the school tells us, we're going to cut your program at the end of the season. You're done. You're going to finish this out, and you guys are done. In true wrestler fashion, we just kept pushing. We didn't let it get us down. We didn't start feeling sorry for ourselves. And we pushed, and we went to Pac-10s, and we won our first ever Pac-10 team title. out of 10 guys, you have 10 guys on a squad, we qualified 9 guys to go to the D1 tournament. So we show up in Minneapolis, wrestle the D1 tournament, 9 guys enter. Second day, we still had 9 guys in it. I mean, it was a true team effort. 9 guys the second day. That's Iowa level, you know, and we ended up having 4 All-Americans out of those 9, 4 Division I All-Americans, 1 finalist. We ended up taking 3rd place in the nation as a team. At one point, we were in 2nd place, and to this date, it's the only team in the history of California to bring back a D1 national trophy. So it's special, and it was a true team effort across the board, and it was just great. So. Well, I probably would have, I'd have talked to my parents about this. I probably would have liked to have stayed at one school and not jumped around. But beyond that, growing up wrestling, I didn't know much about wrestling. I didn't know, I went to open mats, but that was about it in the off season. I didn't know there were clubs. I didn't know I could join a club. I didn't know any of this, and I guess if I had to do something over again, I would have gotten myself into a club. I would have looked around the area, found a club in the off season, joined that club, and I just think it really would have helped me, just get to that next level in high school, So I guess what I would like people to remember about me is, I respect the sport. I respect the sport in the fact that I wrestled in a way that was respectful to the sport. I gave it everything I had. I always gave back. I still give back, and to me that means a lot, I always looked at it, I became a 2-time Division I All-American, was at the top of my sport in college, and I just think, we spend so much time and effort developing ourselves that you get so good, at the end of it, why wouldn't you give some of that back, just like people gave to you as you came up, and so to me that really matters, and it's a big deal, and I do, I always have, I've always kind of been a natural coach, so it was easy to give back. It was easy to give back, trying to help my teammates in college get better. When I saw them doing something wrong, I'd always run over and go, hey, do this, probably like a lot of us did. But I guess if there's one thing, that would be the one thing.
Once again, congratulations on being inducted in the California Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Thank you, I appreciate that.